You are sitting in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And we got Mark Bryan on that side and William Bryan on this side.
All right.
I'll be right back with Mark. Thank you.
How's it going? My name is Manny.
Pleasure.
Buddy.
We're from the Hardly Girls
Robin,
podcast.
nice to meet you. And
Nice
your
to
name?
meet you, buddy.
Buddy, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Mark's over there talking and talking and talking. So we'll just get started with that. Uh-oh, I'm ruining everything.
You're good. Don't worry. How's the con going out there?
Really
Very
good.
nice. Very nice. A lot of good people.
Everybody's so mean here. I can't take it.
Those cosplayers, man. Just bullies. I guess we could start before, or we want to wait for Mark? No?
Maybe we give him a minute, maybe?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, you're
I'm
fine.
gonna send him, you missed it.
It's like Don McGregor in here, and it was.
Do I get to
it was
keep
great.
this?
Yes,
Yes.
it's all yours.
Thank you.
There's more where that came from.
Thank you.
Oh, the costume.
I know.
Looks good, right?
We have a little Holtzman over there.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're gonna have to get a photo of all the costumes, you guys all together. That'd be great.
So I've been thinking of doing a Dead Puffed or Stay Pool t-shirt. What do you think?
I like that.
Good?
I like that.
How many mashups can we come up with?
Take them all.
Yeah.
The bigger question is, will Mark let you get away with it? Or rather, Disney.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's mashed up enough. You know, it doesn't say Dead Pool.
And again, Deadpool is a parody of Deathstroke.
So I think they're a fair use in parody. You know, you're allowed to do that. I wonder if you. Well, hey, I'm already started.
We can start. We have questions for each of you.
Oh,
so-
sure. We
Oh,
can
fantastic.
get started, and when he gets here, I guess
We
he
have
can
like,
join in.
we should you give him like the raspberry when he walks in.
You're gonna give him the cold shoulder.
No. We love him too much for that.
If you guys don't mind, we're recording.
Oh, okay.
All
Sure,
good.
sure.
Okay, I guess we can go ahead and get started. Mark will be here in a bit. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
We are very excited.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting to know that we're going to be talking to you guys.
Oh, thank you.
So we know you guys as the Ghostbusters crew. We've got the two Slimers here and Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So that was
Yep.
really awesome. We're really excited about
Very
that.
excited.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes up. Oh, here he is. He's
Already?
Why don't you give me your camera? Send them to you. I'll just shoot two stills.
3624.
So Mark, thank you for joining us. I know that-
Pardon my tardiness.
Don't worry
No,
about it.
don't worry about it.
We're the Hardly Girls podcast, and we're going to be recording you guys
Okay.
the panel today, and we're just going to ask you a few questions, keep it fun for the audience, and then towards the end of the panel, we will open up to the audience to ask you guys questions. So we know you guys as the Ghostbusters crew, and we've got the two Slimers, we've got Stay Puft Marshmallow Man here, and we were really excited to know we were going to be talking to you guys, and so between you two being the Slimers, how did that go? How did you guys you created the costume for it?
I was also a puppet builder on the project, so I both built and then performed the character. I was brought in because I knew how to build puppets and character costumes. I had a specialty in that, but while I was on the job, before they started building Slimer, I knew that Marshmallow Man was going to be built, and Billy was going to be in it, so I thought, I want to be in Slimer, but they had already decided somebody else was going to do the job. We're going to bring him out from New York. So, okay, well, I won't do that, but I'll keep building and getting ready to build the suit, and then continually during the production, I would say, you know, I can do that. I'd already done some puppetry and TV and some projects, so I kept saying, I've got my SAG card, I can be the actor on set, I can be the actor on set. And then finally, Steve Johnson came to me and said, we'd like to go ahead and use you. I've been doing some puppet sampling and stuff with Terror Dogs, and a chance to show them what I could do. And he finally said, well, we're going to use you. We'd like you to be in the suit. So within a few days, they life cast my body and started the sculptures.
That's really cool.
And after it was cast and put together, then I helped assemble all the parts. But being able to wear them myself, I could put it together and then try it on and see if it wriggled and wiggled just the right way. So got to use several aspects of my creativity.
It took more than one person, correct, to run the suit?
Yeah, there was several people on cables to make eyebrows move and eyes poke in and out. But then some of it was very rudimentary puppetry, where it was a flexible rubber suit. So they would grab like the inside of the lower lip with a pole and just pull it down, and that way they had all this freedom. It wasn't, hinges and levers and stuff. It was a puppeteer on the ground in black who was moving the bottom. And then my friend Mark Siegel was there also, and then for one scene where the tongue licks the face, his tongue would either go by my face or over my head, depending on the shot, through a slit in the back of the costume. So again, it's very hands-on, literally.
Where is Mark Siegel these days?
I
Mark,
believe
would you
he is.
please stand up?
Oh, yeah.
Mark was also a puppeteer with us, as well as a sculptor on Ghostbusters 2, and played a very integral part of my experience on Ghostbusters 2.
Well, I had the good luck, can you hear me if I just
Oh, yeah.
say a few
Oh,
things?
good. Yeah.
I had the good luck of being able to work on Slimer for both Ghostbusters films. I had met, well, it goes back a long way. I met Billy when he was doing foam sculpture at Croft, and then I started doing still suits for Dune, and I brought Billy in as the main foam constructor, and his crew went on to be the Marshmallow Man team, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man team. And I went on to Ghostbusters to work with Mark on Slimer. So I sculpted many Slimer parts. I got to puppeteer a bunch of parts. And because I had worked on the first one, when I moved up to the Bay Area, ILM hired me to do more Slimer sculpture for Ghostbusters 2 at ILM, where I got to work with Robin. So, but it's your panel. You should talk.
And how I got involved, I worked on a film called Willow. I was a troll that got eaten off the bridge by a two-headed Hydra monster.
Yeah.
That was my favorite troll, by the way.
Yeah. I love that movie.
That experience alone, a little secret, I was actually running 102 fever and throwing up when I shot that. I'm not kidding. And I was suspended and had to fall into a mat.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. It actually was. I started feeling better during the day. My dad took me up there. It all worked out. But that's how I got Slimer. Like a year later, they needed somebody to come in and audition. Like, well, what about Robin? Let's call her. The rest is history.
That's great. How did you pass the torch? Did you guys get together and kind of discuss this, or was it
No.
something you
I
just
met him
had
after the
actually-
fact.
Oh, wow.
We didn't meet till after my work was done.
Yeah, it took at least 10 years after. I
Yeah.
think Robin contacted me on Facebook and said, hey, we got to get together.
I contact everybody on Facebook.
She drinks lots of coffee, so
I do.
that's good.
I do.
No, there was no contact. I mean, it was many years later from production to production. It was a different special effects house, so a whole different crew, except for a few people who went along with. Or so it's like in effects you get a job, then the job ends, so you either have another one immediately or you go work on personal artwork or something else.
I saw that they shot it at 6 frames per second. What was the effect that we saw?
Well, I think most of Slimer was either overcranked or undercranked on our production, just to give it a more frenetic or energetic kind of move. Some place out there's DVDs, I think that went out with one of the Slimer figures where there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and that's normal speed, and you can see, I can move so fast, but if you want, triple that, it becomes more comical. So I didn't really know it until we saw it, but, we would see the dailies, they were telling me what was going on, and then they would cue me, both the directors on the Boss Films crew, to, be more energetic, and if you would pass a hand on the backside away from camera, then it would go invisible because it was behind my legs.
Right.
And so we had to choreograph very specifically so they could get it into the camera on that piece of film. But
William, you played the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?
I did. I was lucky enough that one of the sculptors on the still suit job got over to Boss Films, and when somebody asked, do you know somebody who could build this and play it, she said, yes, I do. Call Bill. So I came in and started figuring out how to build it. And it was a similar situation with me, but in reverse as to slowing down the performance. They would tell me, okay, now do it half that speed. And I had this silly system. I would just go boom, 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 or boom, 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 yeah, as fast as it
Well, I
had to be.
There's a lot of suits, right? You had to have suits in different scenes in different places.
There were front view, side view, and back view suits because of various climbing up the church or up the side of the building or standing there and getting blasted either from in front or behind. And each suit got burnt up in that shot.
Yeah.
And so I've been saying that we made 17 or 18 suits.
Wow.
I think that's true, but it's been so long.
Starting to forget.
Some of them, we couldn't make the next suit until we were sure that the previous suit's shot had worked, because we had to stretch the final layer depending on which way you're going to see it.
Oh, okay.
And we were just, a lot of effects get sculpted and molded and cast in foam latex. And so you end up with a seam halfway across it. The hat, Stay Puft's hat was done like that. Stay Puft's head also was sculpted and cast, as were the hands and feet. But the body, because those big seams would have been so obvious and really hard to obscure, instead we constructed it, fabricated it, and stretched that last half-inch layer of foam past the horizon, whichever way, and shoved all the wrinkles underneath the arms of the bib or whatever, smoothed it all out that way.
Did you guys get to meet the cast at all?
As we were shooting, Bill Murray came in like toward the end of our shooting. He wanted to hang out. He was doing looping, so he just spent the day. And he is as crazy and random as you would think, in a good way, in a positive way. And at the end of the day, he turned the whole soundstage into a party. He brought in drinks and music, and it was a lot of fun. He's a trip. He's funny.
But they were shooting the first one at the Warner Brothers lot, wasn't it? Right. And that was in Studio City, and we were down in Marina del Rey. There was no reason for two different sized characters to be shot at the same time anyway. So I never got to meet them until last year when both casts were on the Jimmy Kimmel show. They had me build a Stay Puft suit for Guillermo to wear. And we had one day to do it. Fortunately, I had molds for the hands that I'd resculpted a few years afterward. And so I did get to meet Bill that day. He was nice. He didn't turn it into a party.
I got lucky. We got lucky.
Mark, you have been a part of quite a few iconic movies.
Well, thank you,
Was that kind of a choice? Was that just kind of a direction you decided to go into, or was it just something that kind of just happened?
It was definitely something I was conscious of as a child. I was very much into puppets on TV, and in elementary school I saw a marionette show. So at that point I wanted to learn how to build them, and marionettes are extremely complicated and lots of different steps, so I had to learn lots of craft skills and stuff. But I also liked monster movies. Followed Rick Baker's career and Dick Smith and a lot of other people who I was very fond of their work, and every time the Monster magazine would show up, I know, what did they do? And of course, if it was a movie that wasn't out yet, I'd kind of not really look at those pictures because I didn't want to spoil it for myself. But it was very much a conscious choice. I didn't know that I could make it work, but when I found out that Rick Baker was 30 minutes from where I lived in Newhall, then I wanted to see if I could eventually work for him. So I started building puppets and built a small portfolio. And when he came back from Greystoke, he was looking for a crew to put together a thriller, so I got to be a makeup effects artist. Now, I don't dance, but I walk really well, so, and luckily my makeup effects skills are better than even my walking, so each of us got to do a cameo. So it just built on that. You know, once you've worked on a couple of top-notch projects like that, it's much easier to find the next
Yeah.
job. You know, so many more people and contacts, and you just keep spreading out from there.
So for anybody that doesn't know all the movies that Mark's been a part of, we've got Evil Dead 2, Gremlins 2, Men in Black, Beetlejuice, Batman Forever, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Poltergeist. That's just some of them. That's really cool movies.
Oh, yeah.
Robin, by the way, I love your name. My wife's name is Robin.
Thank
so.
you.
You have a web series, right?
Yeah, actually, it's a couple years old. I'm still far from the tree, but we're developing a new web series that's yet to be titled, but it's going to be kind of like a cop stakeout comedy. So
Okay.
it should be fun. It should be fun.
Now, was it the Funny or Die that you had to wear the cheese on your face?
Oh, yes. That was Funny or Die, right? My husband is back there, and he's a writer.
Oh, wait.
Oh, nice.
And that was Funny or Die, right?
It was a competition. I had to do it 30-second, or a minute and a half.
And I had to dive my face into a plate of mac and cheese.
Yeah.
That was fun. No, it was cold mac and cheese, but mac and cheese goes up your nose. It's not pretty.
nice.
It's not good.
It's not as good.
William, you were part of puppeteering Chucky.
Yes,
That's
yes,
pretty cool.
I got the call, went running down. Actually, it's funny because I had gotten into SAG, or I was eligible on Ghostbusters, and then 4 years later, Child's Play came up, and one of the guys that I had hired was on the crew, and they needed a replacement puppeteer, so he said, "Do you have your SAG card?" I said, "I can by Friday." So shelled out the money and ran on over to the studio and got to perform some of the precision bits here and there.
Great.
That's awesome. I still have my buddy doll
Oh, cool.
that it's based off of.
Yeah.
My sister always hated that when I was
Yeah.
younger.
So many people are still scared of that. I almost got to meet Cloris Leachman at an event. She was walking down the row, and I had my pictures out. I'm thinking, I'm going to get to meet Cloris Leachman. She saw the Chucky one in the corner. She covered her eyes and went like that the whole way across. It was like, Cloris!
Please come back.
So,
I used to torture my sister
With Chucky?
references of the Chucky movie. She's running down the hallway, Chucky. We heard there's a tie-in to Teddy Ruxpin. What is that
Yeah.
about?
oh, that's interesting.
You
Yeah.
got to know about this.
Yeah, there was a TV show to hype Teddy Ruxpin. It was just about to be released. It was, the toy was set to be the Christmas toy that everybody had to have.
I still have
I
mine.
had 2 kids, and they weren't interested until about a week before Christmas, and suddenly, I have to have a Teddy Ruxpin. Fortunately, I was able to get 2 for the price of 1 because I was working on this little Teddy Ruxpin TV show. Oh, then my sister sent a teddy bear. And so rather than lose it in the pile, we put it up on top of the pile of toys, wrapped presents. My daughter comes downstairs. She takes one look at it, starts to cry because it wasn't Teddy Ruxpin, and she knew she wasn't going to get 2, but she did. Come on, honey, calm down. Let's look at the rest of the presents.
Yeah.
Now, how did that go? How did that work for you, going from film to theater?
It was a natural progression, really. I mean, I fell in love with musical theater when I was about 11. I started doing theater and been singing all my life and fell in love with it. And then I just kind of got more interested in film. And it's a bit different when you're performing on stage to being in front of a camera, because you're going from projecting out to a house to like a camera being like right here. But I love it, and I really love film now, really just as much as I love theater.
Yeah, that's great. I have a fun question for you guys, and I think I know what William's answer is going to be, but I'll ask everybody on the panel.
Okay.
Is who would win in a fight, Stay Puft or the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They both kind of moved at the same pace.
Sure.
Very limited
Well,
movement.
let's see, she does have more weaponry, but I've got bulk.
Yeah. Throw your weight around a little bit.
Exactly.
Sure, right.
I
but
could
you can
take
get toasted.
a lot of.
But she's got that torch,
that's
baby.
true. It's
She's
a
got that
torch.
torch.
Yeah, right.
This is scary.
As much as I love you,
Fortunately,
I have to say statue.
I don't think it's going to happen. Should there be a spin-off movie? What do you think?
I think so.
Stay Stay Puft and then Statue of Liberty,
Right,
Oh, William, isn't there
I
a
like
part-
that.
There's a part in the first Ghostbusters when you first see Stay Puft, and you're first seeing it and you pan, and through an alleyway, you can see that you're wearing a Michelin Man t-shirt with just the head on.
That is correct. Because the buildings and the head had to be in focus at the same time, I couldn't wear the suit because it would have pushed me too far away from the buildings. And so I just wore the t-shirt thinking you'd never see it. But it's just one frame's worth of alleyway as I pass by. And it seems like just a little flash of yellow, the background.
Yeah.
But if you
Pause it.
thumb it through on your Blu-ray, you can actually see like 3 different frames that have that.
They kept it in any.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure, you know, think of how many more tires Michelin has sold because of that subliminal advertising.
Yeah.
I
They're
don't
like,
think they
we're all
got
for
paid.
it.
Well, Mark and William, you guys have worked together on more than one occasion.
Oh, yes.
What,
Let's see, you were on
What project
Species.
was it?
Yes.
Species, I was making a lot of effects out of plastic bags. I came up with a way to make all kinds of things out of plastic bags, and then
I had a worm on a drill, which was a vinyl puppet in the lab that spins out of control and chases her across the floor, and
Yeah.
she shoots at it, or somebody does with the flamethrower.
there was some bat wings for something over there at Steve's.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
at the-
you were on Fright Night, right?
Fright Night.
Yeah, so we worked on that. I did only a little bit of stuff. I came in one day. Remember when the werewolf he's got the stake in him and he's turning back? They needed a blend between his body and the werewolf legs. And so it was a one-day job again. I carved the shape out of a piece of foam that was left over, and then I used a leftover librarian skin, turned it upside down, cut the boobs off. Those were, the wrinkles there were the tops of the legs, and the navel was about in the right place, and it already had a blend. So it was done in no time.
you guys also worked on Men in Black together?
Oh,
Together but separately, I
yeah,
think, different
okay,
crews.
yeah.
Yeah, there was 4
I
or
forget,
5
what were you
different
on?
mixes. What did I do? Remember? I was working for Rick Baker. I did the morgue attendant who stuck to the ceiling and dripping goo.
Oh, right.
And we did a lot of tests, but at that point, CG was really coming of age, so we did a lot of things that were shot as reference. Jeep's head gets shot by a shotgun. Well, we built polyfoam heads, filled them with slime, and then the special effects guys would shoot them with a cucumber gun. So they would actually stick it in air mortar because it actually vaporizes when it hit the polyfoam head, and so the head would turn to dust and all the goo would hit the wall. But you couldn't actually see but in like one frame, the cucumber flying through frame. I did a whole bunch of stuff for the Edgar bug where they were crawling around in the belly, so I did gutty layers, and I did skin that they could push up against, and some of those things were used, again, as reference.
And was it intentional, you guys working together on the same movies? It just happened to
We
see the
we
case?
both needed work, and we
Yeah.
both accepted it when it was on.
It's a small industry, huh?
My
Relatively,
character
yeah.
was supposed to be Slug Guy. It's funny because Rick said to the producers, listen, it's an alien movie, shouldn't there be a scene with a bunch of aliens in it? I said, oh yeah, that's right, get busy on it. He said, I can't, I'm too busy with all these other things. So it became kind of the coolest cross-town Halloween costume contest, kind of. I mean, each of the shops had 2 or 3 creatures that were gonna be seen in the airport, you know, in the concourse there at Customs or wherever it was. And I got to make this transparent, weird, I did hear that Steven Spielberg said it was his favorite alien on it. But it was all made out of plastic bags, and it was inflated. I was inside. I was wearing a kind of a weird chicken suit shape so that you couldn't tell there was a human inside. There was other dangling things. But it was, you may remember the scene, don't get too close to him, he's grouchy. That was my moment. It was a very noisy costume because it was constantly being filled. There were fans and blowers, and so it was hissing. And Barry Sonnenfeld wanted it off his set. He wanted that noise to be gone. So he wrote me a nice line of, I got my 4-second moment, and get out of here. And then, actually, Tony Urbano, who's the head puppeteer on it, he asked me if I would puppeteer on the Edgar bug later on. And so I went to my boss, Steve Johnson. I said, hey, I've been offered this. He said, oh, yeah, but you've got the Statue of Liberty costume to build for the New York opening. And so I said, okay, I guess I can't do it. Then somebody told him how much money I could have made. He said, oh, I didn't know. All right, tell him you'll do it. We'll figure out some way. By the time I called, they'd already filled the position. He said, all right, well, I'll give you a raise. And then they canceled. I mean, because it all went digital.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be able to do it anyway, so I got the raise, and it worked out.
That was an amazing puppet. I mean, I got to watch it all come together and be built. I helped build a mock-up out of 2x4s, PVC, and foam, so that it could be approved by Stephen and his producers.
The Edgar bug?
Yeah, the Edgar bug. And then after that, I went on to some other projects, but then they turned our rudimentary puppet into a full-size, beautiful mechanical puppet. And the neck would turn, and then the legs would crawl along. And once we found out that it was not going to be used and be put on the truck, I mentioned to one of the mechanics that I didn't really get a chance to play with it because I wasn't one of those groups of puppeteers. And he said, well, just a second, and flipped on the switch, and he handed it over to me and said, I'll be right back. And I had a chance to, you can tell I'm getting emotional, but to take $1 million plus puppet and play with it. So very, very fortunate.
That's so cool. Well, that's awesome. For all of you guys, what do you guys have going on now? Is there something coming up that we could be expecting?
We do have a new web series I was telling you about, and actually tomorrow I have a callback for a Netflix series. So send good mojo, any good mojo. Thank you. Again, I would tell you about it, but I can't. But as soon as I can, I'll shout it from the rooftops if it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm still acting. I'm still going out there and trying to be busy.
I'm using plastic bags again. Did you ever see a movie called The Beasts of the Southern Wild?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the same director is doing a, I think oh yeah, it's on IMDb. So it's a Peter Pan type movie called Wendy. And there's a creature that we're doing some parts of, a very large thing. I probably shouldn't tell you too much, but anyway, it should be interesting, and I hope you get a chance to see it. I have been told that I might get a chance to get one of those technical merit Oscars because of the whole plastic bag thingy. So I'm looking forward to maybe arranging that.
Really cool.
So is it true you have it in the bag?
Great. That's awesome. Well, as the Hardly Heroes podcast, we have a set of questions that we love to ask our guests every time. They're fun. They give us a little insight to your guys' personal life. But quick question as in, do you guys have a favorite superhero?
I like this.
I mean, I would have to say, just for her strength, for me, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Good choice.
She empowers so much of what I love about women, and yeah, I'd say Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I mean, Superman was the first, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was. I've never really been satisfied with any of the movie versions, quite. Almost, but, I mean, you get so much going on in your head when you're reading the comic books that, you know, it's hard to really make that happen. But, and then Deadpool. I mean, he's no hero, but
Very powerful.
I really enjoyed that movie. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely raised on Superman. So, you know, I always wanted to be able to fly, and if I wasn't pretending I was Mary Poppins, I was Superman. So, you know, it was a toss-up. But I did have an umbrella.
I played Bert the Chimney Sweep in 6th grade.
Well, see, we should have gotten together that far back.
Really?
Yeah, but just, you know, the power and having, you know, superhuman strength and being able to see through things, you know, block walls.
You got a lot of
Good
different
stuff.
powers.
Just super strong and stuff. So as a child, I definitely thought, oh, you know, if I can't do this, hey, I could be a superhero and I could, you know, save the universe at least once.
Yeah.
My mom made me a Superman suit too. Flannel.
Hey, we should say more.
Exactly. It was good. It was really good.
Now this one's a little more difficult. Villains. Do you guys have a favorite villain?
Well,
Wow. In any film, right?
Anything.
No, anything.
We
Comic
actually
book
had
film.
we had an international Playboy playmate on our show that said her favorite villain was her stepfather. So.
well, it's interesting that you bring up Playboy because in 1984, I was given their Villain of the Year award.
Wow.
As Stay Puft.
Sounds like you were your own choice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, sorry, but what can I say?
I would have to say Biff Tannen from the Back to the
Yes.
Future series.
Okay.
Am I right? Am I right?
I love that.
It's my favorite movie, and he's an amazing villain, so yeah.
It's a good one.
Mine would probably have to be the Queen from Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah. Okay.
You can
Yeah.
have that kind of power and then turn into a dragon. And
Yeah.
she was beautiful but horrible.
Great.
Yeah, very.
If you could have any superpower or ability, what would that be?
To fly.
Fly. Okay, I'm on the same page. I like the flying.
Yeah, I love those dreams. And I just had one a few nights ago. It was so cool,
Flying.
you know?
Yeah.
I found out that I could just travel by sliding my feet across, like that far off the ground.
Okay.
It's amazing. I have a lot of dreams
I'd
like
like
that.
to use these, it'd be great.
Mark?
Yeah, I think time travel. I mean, if I
Time
could-
travel.
Oh,
Right, that's a good
that's a
one.
good.
Yeah, now, why time travel? Is it like something you would want to go back and fix, or you want to see the future?
I
Good
think
question.
I'd like to witness, so even
Yeah.
if it was in the past or whatever, watch the connecting of the railroads across America.
Oh, that
So
would be cool.
That would be.
just be at those things, or, see Abe Lincoln with a beard for the first time, or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Front row center.
So this last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is my favorite, and it's gonna be a little weird, but with the zombie shows coming up, we always like to ask, if there was a zombie apocalypse, what would be your weapon of choice?
No guns.
No guns. So just to give you some, I went on Amazon and actually found 4-arm machetes that you would strap to your
Okay.
arm. So I felt like, I could dodge, and fight people.
Sure,
so.
sure.
And Manny had a mace.
I thought a mace, one of wielding a mace,
Sure, yeah.
Might get that. Not that I know how to use one, but
It might hit him in the eye, but
yeah, that's
Right.
most likely.
Try
yeah.
not to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
There's a zombie video game that recently came out, and I actually am one of the characters.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm this homeless kind of guy that managed to survive somehow. I haven't actually played the game, so I don't know what weapon I use.
what your weapon is.
But I'm good at it, I guess.
Robin,
Yeah.
no, nothing? Something from the kitchen you'd grab real quick? No?
I'm thinking zombies, probably a bat.
Yeah, just gonna
That's a
stick
It's
with
like
it.
down,
Yeah.
sturdy, simple bat.
Yeah, I figure a bat doesn't get stuck in their head, you sit there and struggle to get it back out.
Exactly.
That's great. Well, this is the biggest audience we've had so far today, so we're gonna go ahead and open it to the audience and see if anybody else has questions. Go ahead, you, Loretta.
Yes, I kind of want to wonder what your guys' opinion on this is. I've heard before that, this is sort of a rumor that I've heard, that the original, members of the original cast and crew of Ghostbusters like to think of Slimer as the ghost of John Belushi. And I think that rumor's kind of fallen out of vogue in recent years, but I kind of wonder what your guys' opinion on that sort of, that thing is, and about it in general.
We were definitely led to believe that there was a connection between that character and the one we were personifying.
Yeah.
The food fight and just his whole gregarious nature and enjoying being sped up for any reason. But we did watch some of his film work, definitely on Animal House and stuff, and tried to get a little bit of his characteristics and movement. So I know there was a connection definitely at that point, and that we were trying to do a loving tribute to the man.
All right.
I would
Can
walk-
add to that?
I would walk by, I'm on my way to go build some more Stay Puft, and they're sitting watching movies.
Can I add a specific to that, Mark?
Sure.
When we were getting ready to puppeteer the character, a bunch of us were going to be pulling cables to operate facial expressions. We had a number of things built in. We moved the eyes, the nose could wiggle, and the cheeks and the eyebrows. And we were watching John Belushi scenes from Animal House close up when he would do his expressions with his face. And we would consciously try to get his expressions. And when we were signed for puppeteering, I said I wanted to do the eyebrows because his eyebrows are so cool. So it's subtle, but it's in there somewhere. And we were definitely told that that was the spirit we wanted in the puppet.
Great.
Really cool. I think he was good friends with Dan Aykroyd, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was gone, so Slimer was his personification.
Really cool. Do we have another question? Go ahead, sir.
Well, we've got Slimer 1 and Slimer 2, who's also Lady Slimer at 3.
Yeah.
But where's Slimer 3?
Are you talking about the gentleman who voiced the Slimer in the 2016, right? I haven't met him. Isn't that funny? It's like we've recorded separately. I think he recorded probably a couple weeks prior to me, and I just came in and watched the playback. And I met him at the premiere briefly, and yeah, we never had the chance to even be in the same room together, really.
It would have been really cool if they got Mark to come back for it.
Yeah, I would love to be back, and I thought it would actually have been fun to come back on the second one and be a drunk on the bench or something. Just play a cameo in the background. And they say, oh, look, there's Slimer. Oh, his poor career.
There's a funny story about Ghostbusters 2016. I was at home 2 Christmases ago, and I get a Twitter message from Paul Feig, who I'd never met. And he's like, hey, you know, there's something I kind of want you to do if you're interested. Are you interested? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me think. I said, yes, that'd be awesome. And I actually started screaming. My husband's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I said, no, look. And he goes, stop talking to me. Say yes. Say you'll do it. But that's bizarre. Like, I've never gotten a job on a Twitter message before. But I loved it. It was like, but that's who he is, though. He really tried to draw as many people as he could, I think.
When I started hearing that Sigourney was going to be in it, I quick wrote a Facebook note to his, probably just a fan page, and said, hey, can I be in it too? No response.
Do you have another question? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man takes like the form of what they were thinking in your head. If you guys were like, Gozer tells you the same thing, like what would he think will pop in your head?
Well, yes, it would have to be something innocent that could never hurt anybody.
Me, a Starbucks coffee, for sure. Instantly. Can you imagine a 50-foot Starbucks cup?
I was just thinking maybe a goldfish, you know, because then, you know, you're pretty safe from that. I mean, it was an attempt to thwart Gozer's intentions, right? By making it innocent. It happened to be biggish.
Sure, maybe a teddy bear?
Teddy
Something you
Ruxpin.
could cuddle? Sure, not Teddy Ruxpin. He's scary to start with.
Do we have another question? Anybody?
So, when you are tasked with the job, like all of you, so you're tasked with the job of creating a character in the movie, in the film industry, do you have a set, concept of ideas of how you would go about creating that character every time? Like you go in here and say, okay, I want to do that broad and table, and I want to do that with a puppet actor. And do you kind of know that instinctively, or do you feel like you try to push yourself to be more creative every time afterwards? And I did that last time, I want to do something different.
Every job's got to be one better,
Yeah.
at least.
What was hard for me, I had big shoes to fill with Slimer and Ghostbusters 2. I did, and I tried not to think about what was done previously. I had to keep my mind open, and that was really hard. A lot of people said, well, how did you prepare? I really didn't. I purposely did not watch the film because I didn't want to have a preconceived idea. I just wanted to listen to the director. And
I'll send you a copy.
I had, but it was a little pressure. I mean, you know, 'cause it was a very loved character, and to bring that to life is a lot of. I wanted it to be good, and so I just had to just put blinders on and just focus on what they wanted me to do.
That's very interesting.
Do you have another question out there?
This is for William. I was curious if you got any kind of direction from Alan Reitman about how to do Stay Puft,
didn't like the idea from the first, and even at the end, when John Bruno was art director on it.
Yeah.
He'd gone to the final screening before it was released, and he's walking up, Ivan's at the outside the door, and he's like, what, up, down, what? Stay put, in or out? I said, what are you talking about? Yes, it's in. So, you know, it hung by a thread. That big thing hung by a thread. But, so I didn't get directions from him. Bill Neal was the second unit director and camera, well, he wasn't the camera operator, but he was the director. And he would suggest things like speed, you know, how fast to walk. Sometimes, like for instance, in the first scene when you coming around Columbus Circle, there are some light posts that I was about to knock over or put my hand through. So he would say, "Here, bring your arm in," and that way, I would miss the light post and that kind of stuff. But mostly it was just tried. Oh, actually, it was John Bruno who suggested the double bounce, which is something that you see in animation, where they give it a boing, so that you really feel that moment of springiness. And so I tried to give a double bounce to the walk as I'm walking down the street. Yes,
like
as I'm
that.
going boom, boom, boom.
I like that.
Have any more questions?
I'm gonna start doing that when I walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, every step. Yeah. Okay, if you don't have more questions, I want to show off.
Yes.
Yeah,
Check this out. I'm going to play this. I hope this will pick this up. This is my rap resume. So you can find that on YouTube under Bill Bryan's rap resume. There's two more verses.
I love it.
That's really cool.
That is awesome.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys
Yes.
coming by.
Thank you.
All of the work that you guys do. Very inspiring. I think we're good. You guys have your table out there? You guys have it?
Oh yeah, come on,
Yeah.
get some more
Come
autographs.
say
Check
hey.
them out. I'd love to stop by. I brought my copy of
Oh,
Ghostbusters 1 and
good.
2 to
Oh,
get
good.
autographed by you guys.
So glad meeting you guys.
Good times.
I'm glad you're reading it.